Welcome to A Little Help podcast, where understanding life cycles leads you to bigger and better changes. I'm April. Let's get started. Guess what, you all? Today we got Mignon.
I'm back.
And we have a guest. My niece Mik is here.
Hey.
So we're going to start off today. I think we're going to talk a little bit about forgiveness. Let's touch on that subject, y'all. Okay.
Let's
Okay.
touch it.
All right.
I'm done.
So I got a question. Has someone done something to you and you just can't forgive them? Do you have something that's unforgiving right now that someone you can't forgive? Or
I think that it's important to be able to define forgiveness because it's subjective. It could be different for everyone. Like, what does it look like? How do you know when you've truly forgiven someone?
For me, I know that I've truly forgiven someone. It did take some time because, to understand forgiveness, because you want to say, oh, I forgive you, and you move on, and then you'll see that person again, and deep down inside it's still I really didn't forgive this person, But it took some growing for me. It took some spiritual growing for me to really and truly deep down in my heart forgive people. And that was one with God. And I learned to release people with love. Mm-hmm. I truly learned to release them in love and learn to cut the cord. Someone asked me, well, you had a problem with this person, and you mean to tell me that you can sit across the table from them and break bread? I absolutely can.
Yeah, I feel like that's the piece, right? Because forgiveness for me doesn't mean like necessarily complete restoration of that relationship, or that like the access to me. Like, you can be forgiven and your access to me can still be denied. Mm-hmm. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean?
Absolutely.
So for me, it's like, if forgiveness, to Mignon's point, if forgiveness means the complete restoration of that relationship, then I probably have a few things in my life that will never be forgiven. Mm-hmm. But because for me, it's like, I forgive you, meaning what it means for me is like, I'm not going to hold this against you.
Right.
I'm not going to be actively upset with you about this anymore. Right. That's the extent of forgiveness for me. And it's really for me, not the other person.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So to that point, yeah, I do. I have not a person in my life that I can't forgive, mm-hmm. but some actions by a person that are mm-hmm. unforgivable for mm-hmm. me. Mm-hmm. Not that I never will, but how do you forgive?
Well, I feel like you never forget, mm-hmm. but you allow yourself to forgive in order for you to move forward in your life, because you're blocking your blessings by not forgiving a person, because we're all broken people. We're not perfect. We're all imperfect people. We're all children of God.
Can you forgive a person without forgiving an action?
I feel like this. I can forgive a person, but sometimes, it might be somebody in your family that you have to forgive. And they did an action to you that you didn't like. So you kind of like go back old school, handle them with that long handle spoon. You can't, there's a certain closeness that you can get to me.
So you create a boundary for that person.
I create a boundary, mm-hmm. because you can do it again. How many times am I going to allow you to hurt me? Mm-hmm. And some people you have to deal with.
Some people you do have to. Like, you don't have a choice.
That blood.
Like a parent or
Right.
not all blood.
Some blood.
Not all blood.
Most blood.
Not all
Blood
blood.
makes us related. It doesn't make us family.
I
get to
agree.
choose my family.
Mhm.
I've
I
learned
agree.
that later in life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think there are some situations where, for example, okay, two people who have children together, you're not going to be able to completely be out of each other's lives. You're always going to have, and that's what I mean when I say, like, in some cases, you don't have a choice except to deal with this person. But how you deal with this person, you know what I mean, can be defined by boundaries and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Boundaries.
I think is healthy.
The boundaries.
Right?
Healthy boundaries. Yeah, when it comes
I
to
think so.
dealing with
Yeah,
children.
there's somebody in my life right now who can only access me via email. Because some things you only, to your point, it's some stuff you can only do to me one time. You only get
Absolutely.
one
One time.
to cross me that way. And then at that point, I'm like, no, you have to stay as far away. And for me, it's like layers. So like some people can get face accessibility. Some people can get phone call accessibility. Some people can only get text. If you are in that email phase, you are in the furthest loop away from me.
And you know, I kind of like touched on that the last show as far as talking about not doing go backs. You know, I had to learn.
Come on, a go back.
I had
Spin the block.
Calm down.
Y'all see what we in for
Spinning
today?
the block.
Like,
Calm down.
what?
That comes through a lot of that come through growth. In them younger days, yeah, but you learn. You learn that, you know, the people that you're dealing with are grown and they know what they're doing. You come to that point of, you know what you're doing, you knew what you were doing, you know, and then basically when you do the go back, guess what? They just trying to, you know, do it better. They just trying to cheat better. They just trying to do whatever they did to you better because they're going to do it again.
I
You
just
know.
think
Is
sometimes
always true though? Like, is there no idea of redemption that people can actually
People
change?
can actually change, and I do believe that, but it's not going to change overnight.
people change because they want to change.
Because they want
They
to
don't
change.
change because you want them
Absolutely.
to change. So I
Right.
do think people can change, but I think it has to be, because I have changed as a
Absolutely.
result of doing some foul stuff
Well, you
that
have
I felt
definitely
bad about it.
changed.
You know what I mean? Like, I have changed that way, and it was a personal change. It wasn't necessarily
'Cause you wanted to- you didn't like who you were and
I
you
didn't
wanted to
like how I
change.
showed up in that situation. and I
Absolutely.
changed.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And the fact that you learn what goes around comes around.
Yeah, I mean, karma. In
It's
the words
real.
of T.I., karma the only thing is that know its way around everywhere you be around.
Karma's
Right?
real.
Like,
Where are we in
it's
life where we're
gonna
quoting
find
T.I.?
you.
And you don't know when
That's
she
a hell of a
gonna look.
quote.
You don't know when she gonna come knocking on your door.
She know
But
where
she
you
gonna
at.
come. She coming.
She's gonna find you. But
I don't care if it's a week, a month, a year, 10 years,
Okay,
20 years. Karma gonna knock on your door.
and that's why you can forgive. Like, that's why some things you can let go, because you know, like, life is gonna bring that full circle. It's nice when you get to watch it come full circle. Like, oh,
Hey,
what a
What they
moment
say?
to be alive. But
right.
you don't always get that. But sometimes some things, when we talk about forgiveness, sometimes it's easier for me to forgive people when I understand where it came from. Even though we're not cussing on this show, right?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Say what you got.
Even though maybe what they did was fucked up, I understand all the things in their life that got them to
They
that
got them
place
to that
to
place.
do that at that moment.
Life cycles.
And so in that moment, I can forgive you as a person, even if I can't forgive the action.
So this is where I struggle because I always feel like I forgive you for those different moments in your life where maybe you were struggling and you didn't necessarily know better or how to get out of that phase. But what happens is then, now that I've forgiven you for those things that totally affected me, you just keep doing stuff with no accountability. And so it's like I kind of default to maybe you're the same person you were before and I shouldn't forgive you. And then I struggle with the idea of forgiveness all over again.
I've had, and I somewhat know what Mignon is talking about, because I've had to get her through some situations with a family member years ago. They would respond to her very negatively, and then Mignon would get upset, and she would always come to me crying, hurt. I said, that's it. That's it. I said, you better not send another text, because I knew that this person played the game of tit for tat. Mm-hmm. As long as you kept on playing the game, they were going to continue to hurt her. Mm-hmm. So you can't play the game by yourself.
Yeah.
So I said, don't you send not one more text out. I mean, they would send paragraphs and paragraphs of mean stuff just to hurt her. And she was a kid. Mm-hmm. She was a kid. What are you, like a teenager still? She was a kid. Mm-hmm. And I had to stop. And once she stopped communicating with them, she learned how to deal with them. Everything stopped. She learned how to have a relationship with this person to this day. Mm-hmm. It's not a good relationship.
I mean, a relationship is a relationship, good, bad,
right,
indifferent.
But you know how to handle that person now where it doesn't hurt you anymore.
So that brings up the idea of having to learn how to forgive yourself.
Yes.
One of the things that I found out about myself more recently is that I have ADHD. And when I present that to people, like even with my mom, her response is usually like, oh, don't claim that. You got to pray out of that. And for me, it is more freeing to understand that this is something that has happened, because as I learn more about the way that it's affecting me, I realize that a lot of the things that people used to say about me or views that people had of me were not my fault. And I would be overly critical of myself, just so much, like, well, why can't you get it right? Why can't you get it together? Why are you so lazy? And now that I am gaining a better understanding of the way that it affects me, I am learning to forgive myself for, similar to what we talked about last time, what I didn't know.
Mm-hmm. What you don't know.
So I would, I sleep a lot. And I thought, I have been taking naps since birth, probably.
My mother said all she do is sleep. She gonna sleep her whole life away.
But I recognize that that is a symptom of this thing that I have been dealing with for so long. I always thought maybe I'm dyslexic. Maybe that's why I struggle with, learning and not picking things up or being able to comprehend, why it takes me an hour and a half to read 10 pages and then I have to go back and read the same paragraph over and over and over again, why things are just not sticking in my brain. Mm-hmm. It all makes sense now. The idea that I have all of these things that I know I need to do. I have all of these responsibilities and I'm constantly feeling overwhelmed because I know that if I just knock them out, if I just get them done, then I have the rest of my day to myself. Or making plans with friends that I really want to hang out with, but understanding that I literally am in a state of paralysis where it's like, I want to do this. It sounds really fun, but I can't. It's almost like you can't move. My brain will not allow me to function, to take action. And I was very critical of myself. People say, you were always so sensitive. You would cry about this, this, and this. And understanding that emotional dysregulation is also a part of this. It's a real struggle for me. I feel things very deeply, especially when it's, people around me that I'm very close to. Like when you used to cry about things and then all of a sudden I would cry and it's like, I don't even feel the way she feels about this thing, but I'm watching her cry and all of a sudden I can't control myself.
Because of the closeness that we have.
But
it's like if someone hurts me, she's hurt. Mm-hmm. If I'm emotional, she get emotional. you know, instead of being that shoulder to lean on, she crying. It's
But
like,
it goes into that emotion, the dysregulation, that I can't control it. So I have, in this space in my life, had to learn when to say no, how to set boundaries, how to make myself a priority. And sometimes it's hard. It's still hard. It's still hard because you don't want to let people down. But I'm also noticing, like, my anxiety is through the roof and I'm unable to function. I'm unable to do the things that I need to do. Instead of beating myself up, I'm taking a step back to say, okay, you can't do it all. You can do what you can do, and that's enough.
Yeah.
I think at my age, I used to feel like you cared about what other people thought and how other people felt. At this stage in my life, I could care less because this is my life. My journey, my walk, my story, I don't care what you think about me. I don't care how you feel about me.
That's definitely an age thing, though.
Yeah.
It's an age thing.
Because,
It's
like,
an age thing.
there's something that I turned 39 this year. And
it's
let
an
me
age thing.
tell you how I don't give a fuck. Like,
You don't
I
care.
really don't. Like, really, truly do not. And God bless you. And good day. Like, simple as that.
So you
And
39, you 33, you ain't got there yet. You 39, you feel like this. So imagine how I feel at 60.
Listen, I can't wait to get there. The level of not giving a fuck I'm going to have at 60 years old. Oh, what a time.
It's a good feeling.
I wish.
I don't care if it's family,
Doesn't matter.
friends. I don't care. Co-workers, boss. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
It's about me. It's about how I feel. I love me enough.
But what did it take for you to get there?
Life lessons.
Experiences. Where, and for me, it
Getting your
was
butt
a
kicked in
situation, where like you try to show up in this way, and you have a situation where, or I'll just speak for me. I had a situation where it became very clear, like, people are gonna think what they want to think about you, say what they want to say about you.
Even though it's not right.
It doesn't even matter. And so all the time I was trying not to show up as a villain and became the villain anyway. And then it occurred to me, like, that's kind of my fault.
Didn't we have that conversation?
Because like, I should have shown up in a way that was authentic to me from the beginning. Regardless of how it would have been perceived by everyone around me. Like, but because, and actually I wasted time. I got my feelings hurt.
Because you didn't want to hurt anybody
because
else.
I didn't want to hurt other people.
But you were hurting yourself.
And I stayed too long. And because I stayed too long.
Stayed too long in that box.
You know what I mean? Now it became something it didn't have to be. And so understanding like that whole series of events where it's like, if you trust your gut, if you trust your instinct and not care other people, you can save yourself a lot of heartache that way. Like, just let it be what it's gonna be. They're gonna make up whatever they don't know. They're gonna make it up anyway
in their own minds. In their own minds.
Yeah, so,
and you know that all of this stuff that they're saying about you is not true. It's like, that's not who I am. Is this how you see me? Is that?
But see, in my mind, there is this loop that happens where I start to question. I overthink a lot, and I'm like, well,
is that
me?
Yeah.
I've had is that how
too.
I'm showing
Overthinking
up?
is so dangerous. And I have a problem with overthinking a lot of times. I know I have that overthinking, but not in that way, in other ways. But overthinking is very dangerous. You can really overthink yourself to bad,
It can, overthinking can pull you out of opportunities because time is money, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's like being able to not overthink it, no paralysis by analysis, right? It's a thing that takes practice. You have to be like, I'm going to make a decision, and it's gonna be okay regardless. That takes a lot of
and it's
self-talk.
something because when you start to doing the overthinking and you're doing it in a negative way, you're supposed to, what, devil, get behind me, and start trying to put more positive thinking in there because you got to put that energy out into the universe. You have to put positive energy out there, because what your energy, if you're always thinking negative, that energy, that's what you're going to get back. Then you're going to pull that in. So
what kind of positive energy do you put out when you're like in that place when you're saying like devil get back, right? Like what kind of stuff do you say to yourself?
You know, like it depends on the situation. Like I can say, you know, oh God, I'm having a hard time. You know, today I got to keep going. I'm going to move forward. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep going. You know, God, I know you're with me. You know, I'm going to push through. I'm going to push through. I'm going to keep going. You know, so those are some of the positive things that I'll say to myself when the devil tries to enter into my life. Yeah. It's not like I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to give up. You know, I'm not going to give up. Just. And I remember years ago, you know, we were all swimmers, you know, and my coach was like, I need you to do this. I need you to, you know, get in there, and I need you to get this time, you know, do that 50 free in so many seconds, you know. And I'm like, I can't. My coach say, I don't ever want to hear you say I can't. There's no such thing as I can't, you know. And I didn't understand it because I'm like, okay, those are two words that, you know, you know. But as I got older, I understood I can't. Get it out of your vocabulary. Yeah, totally take it away.
I recognize that affirmations work in both ways. Like if you repeat the negative stuff enough, you'll start to believe it. Same way as we tell you to repeat these positive things about yourself, and you'll start to believe them over time. But I think that we get into the cycle of repeating the negative so often that it's hard to overpower that.
Because that's what we've done all our life.
Well, I think part of that is we put ourselves in echo chambers. And so it's like because you believe this thing about yourself, right? I had to take that off a week because, you know, I'm in the self-talk phase. But because you believe those things about yourself, now you're surrounding yourself with things that affirm that about you. You know what I mean? And it becomes just an echo chamber. So now I'm putting myself, if I think I'm dumb, now I'm putting myself in situations where that can just be reaffirmed over and over and over again. And I think, to your point, it works the opposite way too. If we reframe that, therapy helped me with that, like just reframing those thoughts and redirecting those thoughts.
And it's hard to redirect them. It's so hard to redirect those thoughts, you know.
Very hard.
You know what's even worse is showing up as a therapist and being able to provide that space and, you know, feed that into my clients, but not be able to embody it myself. That will drive you nuts. Drives me nuts.
You're pushing positivity into them, but then when it comes to your own life, it's like,
how come I can't do that for me?
Yeah.
I get that.
Where, like they say, therapists need a therapist.
I can imagine.
They say because life is what? Trifical.
Oh my God.
What is trifical?
She watches Bluey.
If you don't watch Bluey, you don't understand it. Y'all got to be Bluey fans with Trifical.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's easy when life is going well to be like, I am this, and I'm smart, and I'm beautiful, and I can get things done, and I can accomplish these things. It's hard when life starts kicking your ass, and then you have to, because then what do you rely on? And for me, it is that spiritual grounding. Like when I'm in the worst place of my life, declaring that I will bless the Lord at all times. That no matter where I find myself, I will sobbing.
Yes.
I will trust the Lord.
I will trust you.
I think, but when you can ground yourself in those moments, you find your power later. And whatever it is for you, right? Absolutely. It might not be that, but whatever it is, then it's easy now to be like, I'm unstoppable. I say that to myself every day. I am unstoppable. There's nothing that can happen in my life that I cannot overcome. There's no even a bad decision is not a wrong decision. I am unstoppable. And it's like, once you get it, right, then you got it. And it's like, no, I really am.
And it's a practice.
It is, yeah.
It's an everyday life practice to just try to keep positiveness in your life, to embrace positiveness. And it's like you say, you're constantly saying, you know, God, you know, I know you there. I know you can do all things. I'm going to keep.
There's a reason for this.
I'm going to keep climbing this mountain, and I know you're with me, and I'm not going to give up, and I'm not, you know, and it. I think I even, I've always been on it. I've always had this spiritual kick, always went to church but I think it grew even more after my mom's passing because I probably leaned on, I knew she was there. I knew I had somewhere to go. But once she left, that was it.
Somebody get the tissues.
That was it.
I'm going to ask a really hard question right
it.
now. Did you have to forgive your mom for passing away?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
And
I think that's...
I think, whenever talking about my mom, because I love her so much, it's hard.
Oh, girl, get these tissues on there. Goodness.
It's hard.
No shade.
My mom, she did a lot. Even in her last days, she tried. It was hard. And I just wanted to help her to make her transition easy. Because I know the life she lived. She worked all her life.
See, and this is where I start tearing up, even though I'm not feeling the same thing she's feeling.
And it's funny because having 8 children, raising 8 children, and everybody don't feel the same way I feel about her. It's hard for me to understand that you don't have as much love for her as I do.
Because you can be growing up in the same house and have 2 different experiences.
Right.
And our parents treat us different, even though we don't want to. We don't want to say that, but
I kind of go back to stories I heard, like when my mom's dad was passing, or I don't know how she was with her mother when she was passing, but when her dad was passing, and I thought about this. I said, my mom was a workaholic, and she really wasn't there for her dad when he was going through transition, as I hear. So what goes around comes around. And I thought about that. So everybody's not going to love you the same. And even though I know she loved her dad, but work was more important. So my other sisters and brothers, other things in their lives were more important than helping, her, whatever. So whoever didn't show up,
Is that understandable for you, or is that an issue for you?
I guess that's something you have to forgive.
With my sisters and brothers that didn't show up. Right. That's something that, is hard. But I feel like as long as I know I did all that I could do for my mom in her passing, I'm grateful. I'm very grateful.
I think that's where that reframing comes in too, right? Like, not everybody is capable. You know what I mean? So maybe it had to be you.
And I learned that.
Because maybe they're not capable. People can't give you what they don't have.
When I was spending my time, when God set me down, set me by myself, and, I was struggling with that, with, sisters and brothers not coming, not showing up, not helping to take care of her, all the whole thing. You know what God came in and said? I gave you that strength. I didn't give it to that person. I didn't give it to that sister. I didn't give it to that brother. I gave it to you. This was your job to make sure she was okay and that she would transition peacefully.
And maybe it was their job to stay out the way. They may not have known that, you know what I mean, actively, but just like your assignment was to be there. Maybe their assignment was to be far away from it. You know what I mean?
Right. Because it's funny because my little brother, he was sitting there with my mom one day and he said, Mom, who would ever think of all your kids? It would be April, the one to step up and take care of you. And she just laughed. And my girlfriend even said she had mentioned it, that, it was me, that I was the one that she would have never thought, that she didn't see who I was until the end. My mom didn't really know me till the end when I stepped up.
I find that when you're in the darkest places in your life, like that's when the most unexpected care and the people who show up are the most unexpected people. You know, when I first went through my divorce, the first person who I really said it out loud to was somebody, this random white guy, I'm going to call his name Hunter, I do comedy with. Somebody I had never really had a personal conversation with. But it just so happens that he also was going through a divorce. Didn't even know that, right? We sat down in the theater. He's sitting in the row in front of me, and he just goes, "How are you doing?" And I respond, and we start this conversation, and all of a sudden, this beautiful bond between two people, this pale white dude from Minnesota. He's going to love that I say that. But from Minnesota, and this black girl with locks are now connecting in a way that's like, yeah, I see you and I understand. He subsequently moved. And in that, it was like, I get it. Go do what you have to do, like understanding what he needed to do for him. And I watched his pain, having to leave his life behind. And it was just this, and I think he saw it in vice versa as well. And you just never know.
You know,
to this day, you know, there are random messages like, "Hey," I say, "How you doing?" You know, whatever the case may be. But so many people show up.
It's like
that you wouldn't think.
The power of God to put you at the right place at the right
At
time.
the right time with the right
He
people.
knows what you need.
You never would have talked to them about this, but somehow.
You had no idea this person was going through the same thing. The power of God.
I would like to reach the level of enlightenment that it seems you guys have, like, acquired over time, because I want to go back to your question. You asked her if she had to forgive her mom for passing away, and actually I feel that I had to forgive my grandma for passing away. I was mad. I was angry. And I blame myself because I discovered that she was sick. I was in the hospital with her, talking to all of the doctors, and
had her notepad.
I mean, was updating the entire family, and that lasted for quite a while. I was setting up Zoom calls or the where you can get multiple conferences in, letting people know what was going on, and you know, busting my butt at work so I could come home and help them, relieve them on the weekends because they were taking shifts and stuff. And then when it came time for her to be in hospice, my mom was with her. And she called all of the family members to say, you know, hey, they've given her so much time, 2 days to live. And, you know, this is your opportunity to speak to her. And I don't know if you knew this, but I had called my friends and was like, hey, so I think my grandma's going to be dead in 2 days. Like, you know, I better go get a funeral outfit. Like, when you called me to speak to her, I was walking around Target trying to figure out what I was going to wear to a funeral, because that's the only thing that I could process in that moment. Like, thinking back now, that's the only thing that I could process in that moment. And I had the opportunity to say anything that I wanted to say to her, and I didn't know what to say over the phone. You know, I was more so having a conversation with you and like asking, well, what's she doing and what's going on? I didn't know what to say. And one thing that I do remember saying was, I'll be there. I'll be there tomorrow. I'm coming. I wanted to see her before she passed away. The next day, I packed up my car, got everything ready. You know, I got in the car. I checked my text messages before I pulled off from my apartment. She had passed away, and I was mad. I was angry.
Were you angry that you didn't get there in time?
I was angry that I didn't get there in time. I was angry that I didn't say I'm sorry, because the last face-to-face interaction we had, I was mad at her then because my mom had COVID and Or she was getting over COVID. She had a long-term COVID. You were sick from like October to January?
End of October, and I went through January. So I was pretty much fighting for my own life at that times, you know. So I had another sister, and my niece had stepped up to help out with Mom while I was down. And I came out of it at the around mid-January. And I was still had a little bit, but I pushed through. I just got up.
I came home to celebrate Christmas with her, and I always took 1,000,001 COVID tests before I went anywhere. And I stopped by my grandma's house knowing that I had taken so many tests, and I, was not going to even show up at her home if I knew it was going to get her sick. But one of the things that she said was, if you've been to your mama's house, then you don't need to be in here, something. And I was just, I think in my mind, I was just in this space where it's like, my mom has been almost deathly ill and still showing up to take care of you, making sure that you have what you're needing,
still
coordinating.
Sure her meds were right, coordinating everything. And I was so sick.
I was mad. And when I walked out the door, I was like, I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow came, and I had my uncle actually come and pick up food because I just didn't want to go back over there. I didn't want to have that interaction again. And that was the last time that I saw her face to face and we had a conversation. So I was like, it was all on bad terms, and it would have been my opportunity to say I'm sorry, that what I didn't know how to say over the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that I didn't get that opportunity, it broke me. It broke me to the point where I was in school at the time. I was getting my master's degree, and there would be certain topics that I would have to present on, and I would stand in front of my class just crying. And my teacher was like, "Are you good? Are you okay?" I'm like, "Girl, I don't know what's going on." But it took a long time for me to move forward, to just feel like a normal human being again. I think because I was holding in so much anger and sadness.
And she knows.
I had to forgive her.
I
had to forgive her. I had to forgive me.
Yeah.
She knows.
Yeah. That's a hard one. I've been in a situation where I had a blowout with somebody and then they passed away shortly after. I was in that situation with my uncle. And there was a moment, actually, yeah, because I cussed him out real good. Not too long before he passed away. And he deserved it. So he did. He had that comment. But the thing is, like, one of my cousins, because, family knew that it happened. They were like, I just want to check on you. You not feeling some type of way because the last time y'all. And there was this moment of like, my cousin was like, he wouldn't have been holding on. I don't think he was holding on to that. And and it was like, do I need to forgive myself for that? No. In that, I had this moment where it was like, no. Even knowing what I know right now, I would have done that again. You would have done it again. The same thing.
I'm sure he did deserve it.
I mean, if you know me, that didn't happen except that he had it coming.
Right. Right.
But there is that moment of like, I was surprised at myself. Like, because I thought I would feel away. Like, dang, my last interaction with him was bad and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, he fine. He, like, whatever. But then when my brother passed away, which was years before that, my last interaction with my brother was what it always was. I love you. Like, we never parted ways without saying I love. We were best friends. And I had to forgive him for dying, which is an interesting contrast. And I don't know that I'm still there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I still have moments, especially when it comes to my mom aging. And understanding, like wrapping my head around the idea of like, it's just me.
Oh, child.
It's just me.
Listen,
raising
your parents is hard.
I have that moment, but I've learned to accept it where I have moments where I'm like, fuck you for dying. Like, fuck you. Like, what? This is insane. This is not how it's supposed to be. Yeah, but I have to let myself have that. I have to, because if I don't, then it sits in my body. That feeling sits there and it becomes something different. So in that moment, like I can still have that sibling moment with him and be like, fuck you for dying. And then boom, just like that. And I still love you and I moved past it. And you know what I mean? But that was an interesting contrast to me. Like, so for this person who, if I knew he was going to pass that day, there's nothing different I would have done.
You would have done.
We said, I love you. We checked in. Like, that's just what we did that every time. And then this other person passing and it's like, oh, I had a blowout with him before he died. And it was like, it's fine.
Yeah. That's totally
And
cool.
I loved him like
Yeah.
a father figure to me. You know what I mean?
You know, and speaking of your uncle,
That guy. Love him.
Yeah. He was a good guy, you know.
We all got our shit.
Of course, her uncle was my ex-husband. We had divorced, and I remember him always saying, I'm never going to be alone. I'm never going to be alone. You know, no matter what, you know, we went through our divorce and everything. Not because I wanted to, because of things that he was doing that I had to leave him. And it's funny. He always said, "I'm not going to be. I'm not dying. I'm not dying alone. I'm always be with somebody. You know. I'm just going to remarry. I'm just going. You know. Even though he was hurt, you know, from our divorce and everything, he was very hurt.
Never the same, really.
Yeah, he was never the same after our divorce. I heard a lot of stories.
In my opinion, I want to
I
make that
heard a lot of
clear.
stories, even from my other nieces from well, you know. And I said, you always say, and I say it, you know, what goes around comes around, because you say that you're not going to be alone. I'm not going to die by myself, but you died by yourself. You know, it's something how we say things. And we say how we're not going to go out, I'm not going to die alone. And he did remarry. And she, as I hear, she came home from work and he had died in his sleep.
But I think that in saying those types of things, that is you just speaking your fears out loud.
But you brought that negative energy to life.
Ultimately, we all die alone.
Well, just basically saying,
even if someone's in the wrong,
right? He was more of, it's going to be someone there. I'll have someone to hold my hand. I'll have someone to. You don't know how you're going to leave here, but you were adamant about not dying alone. He was adamant, I'm not going to die alone.
You know, we all have our lists. Right? Things we not gonna do. And this is something that's present in my life right now in this moment. Like, not gonna do this again. I'm not doing that. No, thank you to this. Nothing. And then the right set of circumstances present themselves. And it's almost God smirking at you and going like, what now? Like, because you have this list of no's, and you have this list of things, and now I'm going to put the right situation in your life to make you rethink this. And so what now?
Because now you trying to write your life out of how it's going to be. But God said, okay, I'm going to sit here and let you write that out.
That's cute.
Yeah.
And now this.
and boom, he didn't drop the...
Yeah.
It's your plan. It's not his plan.
And that's why I got to the point. I'll tell God what I want. This is what I want. These are my dreams. You know, the affirmations. I do it all. And at the end, I say, but God, I'm sure it's something I'm missing. It's something I got in here not right. I'm going to surrender all to you.
Yeah. I trust you fully.
I trust you. I surrender all. You know my heart. You know my dreams. But I want to walk your path. Keep me on your path. I'm going to surrender all.
Yeah.
That's my every morning prayer when I'm out on my walk with your dog.
I'm the same way. Like now, like just understanding just the path of my life, and I make a plan, and you know, I've learned to be, I saw this said somewhere, but rigid with the vision, but flexible with the plan,
Mm.
right? The vision is the vision.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think back, like even over the last few years of my life, you know, God said buy studio equipment. I didn't know why.
Mm.
I had no idea why. Like, I just did it. And so
I know.
a year later, I found out why.
And it kept pulling on your heart and pulling and pulling. It just kept, it's like, but God,
There's
why?
something there, but I don't know why you're telling me to do this. And that's how long ago it was that I did it. I was still working at my previous employer where I worked there for 5 years and then took a year and a half off. But right before I left, God said, put the money and buy the equipment. Fine. I wasn't even doing comedy. I wasn't writing. I wasn't doing any of those things yet. But I did it, right? And so then you come up with these plans. I have a bunch of plans for my life. I thought I was going to be doing open mics here in Vegas and this and that. And God said, no, LA. Like, right to LA. Skip the
why
open
I
mics.
can't never
you're
get a
booked.
hold of you.
Like, but the point, exactly. To your point, like, you make plans, but at the end of that, you always have to say, but God, thy will be done. And if it's okay for you to change this, I leave room, right? Like, you can move any of this in this plan.
Absolutely.
And I will yield to it.
Absolutely.
Regardless of what it is. You know, I thought in my mind, it was going to be me and this and that and my
You
dog
always
and this
thinking,
and that. Like,
I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to this job. I'm going to try this job. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that.
and what happens when God says, no, I don't want any of that in your life. I'm actually moving all of that out of your life.
He moves it.
You know what I mean?
He moves it.
I had that moment this year where I really had to be like, okay, like whatever it is.
All.
Yeah, I'm hurting and I know you can see my hurt.
You hurt.
But I know that you're
You got
making
a better
room for
plan.
something.
Something coming.
What is it like to trust in God's plan and his will for your life, but also grieve the plans or the future that you thought you would have, that you kind of set for yourself?
I've been thinking a lot about that, actually, because people always say, like, your new life is going to cost you the old one, right? Nobody talks about the grief that comes along with that. Like, the grief of, like, having everything now gone. Silence.
You know, and that's when I discussed in one of our other podcasts about God breaking you down to become the person that he wants you to become.
I felt like he was stripping me.
Oh, yeah.
It was like more like stripping me
just
naked.
Constantly.
Like,
constantly. We all have other terms of
naked.
it, but
and then it was
stripping.
Like, now I can move.
Now he's
now I can do this. Now because
He's
I wouldn't
off
have
the
even
old.
been in a place. And now just seeing some of these things come full circle, I wouldn't have even been in a place to accept some of the offerings that are coming into my life now. If I hadn't just been like, well, okay, like, let me just grieve this. I'm not going to fight for it. I'm not going to, you know what I mean? I'm not going to fight for it. I'm going to just let it go.
You surrendered it to it. You used the word stripping you down. I used the word of God just breaking me down, you know, because you're going to a higher level. You're going to a higher level, even spiritually. You know, we all are on our own spiritual journeys and our own spiritual levels, you know, but I always say when you come out of it, he did it gracefully. He broke me gracefully. You know, he stripped you gracefully. You can see part of his plans come into life.
Thank God.
But when going through it, all the tears, all the tears, you know, when you're alone, when it's just you and him, the breakdowns, the anxiety, it's not an easy journey. And that's when I tell people, you know, if you want to grow, you got to get uncomfortable. You got to go through the life lessons. You got to go through the hurt and the pain.
Yeah.
To become wiser, to become better.
Yesterday was my aunt's birthday, and we have a family group chat, and they started talking about all of the reasons why she was so amazing and why she is so missed. It's one of my aunts that passed away. And one of her favorite songs, well, her daughter said, you know, everybody go listen to Atomic Dog, and because that's one of her favorite songs. But my mom had mentioned Stump. and that was also one of her favorite songs by Kirk Franklin. And so I'm driving to Petco to drop my dog off or pick her up, one of the two. And I put this song on and I said, thank you, I needed that. I needed that. I needed that reminder that I have been going through some things that's really got me down.
All right, Kirk.
And there is someone that's going to turn it all around. Like, I needed to hear that. And then subsequently, words. Subsequently, we're driving here today. And one of my favorite gospel songs comes on, More Than a Conqueror. And I'm singing along. And she randomly says, you want to hear this? Don't you see me singing?
First of all, I was driving. I didn't hear her singing. I'm more of listening to the gospel music. She's more want to listen to Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Yeah, that too.
So she kind of like...
We need a mix of it all.
So a lot of times I'm listening to my gospel shit. I don't really want to listen to this today.
Yeah, I don't like some of the songs you listen to.
So that's why I asked her, do you really want to listen to this? Because I listen to gospel all day. You know, gospel speaks to me all day, every morning. That's why. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't that I didn't want to hear it. I know her.
This song, to me, it was right on time. It's like you need to hear it in the moment.
A bad time for More Than a Conqueror by Kirk Franklin? Like, listen, it is just one of them.
It hits.
Yeah.
But it was a reminder that I feel that I needed in the moment. Like when I feel so overwhelmed, when I feel so anxious, when I'm trying to figure out this space that I'm in life where I can truly step into forgiving myself for what I didn't know. I have to know this too shall pass. I will conquer this as well because I'm not walking alone.
But you keep saying forgiving yourself for what you didn't know. I don't understand why you have to forgive yourself and you did not understand yourself at that point
because
in your
of
life.
How critical I was of myself and what that did to my worth and my value over time. Mm-hmm. I was a major key player in diminishing myself because I didn't know that this was my brain is wired differently. That there are things that I don't understand. Yeah.
Everybody learned differently.
That it takes a little extra for me to get it. That I am not just sensitive, like overly sensitive. I'm not a crybaby. I'm not lazy.
It's like
these are things that I feel that I filtered into myself because there are things that I heard about myself all the time, and I truly started to believe that. And so I have to go through the process of unlearning that to say, you're not that person.
Believing what other people, as we were talking about, they're what they see you to be. And you know that this is not who you are. And again, getting to that level of not allowing people to make you who they want you to be. You're not going to make me to be that person. You can say I'm that person all you want, but I know my heart. I know who I am. You know, I know the God in me.
I've always been a spiritual person.
Oh, I know that.
But it for me, it comes in waves. It hits me harder sometimes, more so than others. And this is one of those times in my life where it's like, thank you. I needed to hear Stump. Thank you. I needed to hear More Than a Conqueror. Like I needed to be fed that without seeking it out. I needed it to just come naturally.
It reminds you that God sees you.
Yes.
God hear you
in that moment. Yeah, and I think we all need that. But yeah, I can relate to that.
And He gonna give you that teaspoon. He gonna give you that here.
He gonna give you what he will always give you what you need.
Always,
if you pay attention.
Yeah,
it's always there.
He's an on-time God. He's an on-time God.
Yeah, but I can relate to that. I think years ago with my major depressive disorder diagnosis, that was like a moment for me where it was like, oh, like I get it. I wasn't, when I was a kid, everybody thought I was quiet. I was depressed. I was depressed. People thought I was sensitive. I was depressed. And when you think about it, how could I not have been? You know what I mean? And so it's like, I understand that needing to forgive yourself for things I did when I was experiencing high levels of depression and didn't understand what I was feeling. I didn't know what that was. Not being able to show up in certain ways, or, people are like, well, Mickey she don't answer nobody call. I was depressed. Like, I literally did not have the energy, and still sometimes don't. Which is why sometimes people call, they like, you better text her. It's not just like, oh, I hate talking to y'all on the phone. I literally don't have the energy sometimes.
Social media
the only
is
energy
drained.
I have is to get through the day. And so whatever you need, you're going to have to text it today, because I cannot, you know what I mean? So I get having to forgive yourself, and also like having to forgive other people for refusing to acknowledge it. You know what I mean? Where it's like, but you get to the point where you just stop sharing it all together, because it's like, they don't have to get it. I get it.
Yeah.
And that's the most important.
And as long as you get it, so you can move forward to a better place.
Yeah, well, so you can take care of yourself.
That's right. You can't hold on to, unforgiveness, because God forgave us all. Look at how much stuff we've done in our lives. We done did so much bad stuff. What if God didn't forgive us?
You speak for yourself.
What if God didn't? You already said it early on that you already said early on that you did.
No, don't try. That's what they mean.
We've all made.
Try to put you in it.
We've all made mistakes. But what if God didn't forgive us for everything that we've done in our lives that was wrong? What if He didn't forgive us? And that's His whole thing. It's like, how can you not forgive your neighbor, your brother, your sister, but I forgave you for everything you've done? You greater than God, that you can't forgive the next person? We got to break it down. I'm not greater than God. I've done a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have done.
Yeah, I mean this
you
is the
have.
thing with Christianity, right? Why she trying to put me in it? Yes, you have. So many things.
So many things. I can't even count.
No, but this is kind of my issue, and especially as we talk about forgiveness. Let me look at this. Okay.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah.
Forgiving church, like especially.
Can I snap to that?
Forgiving the understanding of church that I grew up in. I'll say it like that. Understanding that is what they needed, and that is what worked for them. But also, and what made me think about this is, how many things do we say all the time that we don't even think about when we say the Lord's Prayer? Forgive me as I forgive others. Right?
Trespass against
I
us.
do believe the Bible says that grace, like the grace that we give, is the grace that we get. So we should be, but we don't even think about that. We don't even think about, like, the way that I'm able to forgive others is how God will forgive me.
Absolutely.
But
so imagine the people that don't forgive. All right.
Forgive us as we forgive others.
This has been great.
Yeah.
This has been great. I enjoyed you,
Thank
Mik.
you for inviting me.
I enjoyed you, Mik. I'm glad
I feel
you came
like
out
she
again.
needs to come back.
I would
She
love
needs
to
to
come
come
back.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anytime.
Oh.
You know I love you.
All right. Continue to love. Have faith. Believe in your dreams. God can do all things. Just ask for a little help. We out.